Okay, we're ready. Hold it closer to your mouth so they can hear you.
How the hell y'all doing?
Young adult
I
fiction.
don't.
Oh, but see, when you start doing that, all right, before we get started, we are about to dispel a rumor. Juan is not doing any young adult fiction.
I cuss too much for that. No.
Hey everybody, it's your girl, Dr. Rhonda Lawson. I'm back and I'm sitting here next to the world famous Juan. So let's just jump right on in there because Juan, people have called you like a modern day Donald Gore.
Yes, I have.
So is that a heavy crown to wear or is it an honor?
An honor. It's an honor. It's an honor. There's no weight too great for me to bear. So that is an honor. That is an honor.
So everybody doesn't read. First of all, before we even get started, what do you call your fiction? Would you call it urban fiction? Would you call it gangster fiction? What do you call it?
I write crime fiction, right? Because like if you look at my stuff, a lot of my stuff, not a lot of my stuff is based around like the drug dealing and stuff. I write about crime. I write about crimes being solved, crimes being committed, like Passion for the Heights. They're robbers. You know what I mean? They're not drug dealers, they're robbers.
Right.
So they called it urban fiction because I was a kid from the projects writing these black stories. So you know they have to put us in a box. Everything needs a box to be put in.
Right. I came into the game around 2003, 2004 is when I started. And at that time, the biggest genres were erotica and what I think at that time we were calling it street fiction.
Yeah.
And your books were hot.
They still are.
They are.
Still are.
I mean, you write a book and then the next day you have 90 reviews. I mean, you have a very loyal fan base, and because there's I mean, there may be some people who say I don't read urban fiction or street fiction, but there is a huge audience whose stories need to be told. Everybody doesn't live in a nice hunky-dory white tower, so to speak. There are some people who need their stories told. That's the reason why NWA became as famous as they did, because they were telling the stories of the young people who live from their neighborhoods.
You know what trips me out? Jackie Collins, if you read Jackie Collins, she writes the exact same thing that I do. But they don't call Jackie Collins urban fiction because Jackie Collins, God bless, is a white woman. And I love Jackie Collins. But it's this, and I got exposed to Jackie Collins books later in life. I was older. And I'm like, was she kicking the same stuff I'm kicking? But they call her, oh, she's this dynamic writer of these whatever. But I'm like, it's the same thing. Right. The only difference is the demographic and the race.
Absolutely. So what? Let's go back a little bit before we jump into Passion for the Heights. Did I say correct? Is it Passion for the Heights?
Yes, Passion for the Heights.
All right. So before we jump into that, can we talk a bit about your journey as an author? What got you into writing, and then what keeps you in the game?
Tragedy is what got me into the game. And I think that what keeps me in the game is I feel like I have an obligation to represent for the purists, I guess, like the like, because you have writers, right, like who are Puritans, people who love what they do, who respect the craft, you know, and then you have people that are in it because it's popular. So I think that I represent the side of it that are like, because like, my philosophy is this: you can't teach writing; you have to be born a writer. You can, and it's not to say that you can't get a book published. You know, you can't be taught to be an author, but writers are born. And I think that when that happens, when we're born, like we're born into it, and we die from, we die when we're born into writing, and we ultimately that's how we go out. So we don't have a choice in the matter. We have to write until our last days, till our last breaths.
So you feel that you were born born to write? So
Absolutely.
even as you were growing up, you always wanted to tell stories?
No. No, my mother was a writer.
Okay.
My mother was a writer. I was a painter. My mother was a writer, and this was always her dream. And it's like I had no desire to write or to be published or anything like that until when she passed, when she got sick, is when I started writing my first book. And she passed right before it came out. Like she died in September. The book came out in December.
So she never really got to see your dream of being an author.
Nope, never got to see it. And I always tell people this is why I take it so seriously. Like I joke a lot, I play a lot. I'm a happy drunk. That's what they call me, the happy drunk. I joke a lot and I play a lot, but I take this very seriously because I'm living someone else's dream. This was not my dream, and I would be lying if I told you that it's currently my dream. But it's the thing that feels most natural to me. It's like fish swimming, like if a shark stops swimming, it'll die.
Right.
If I stop writing, I feel the same way. So I feel like this is where the universe put me, and this is where I'm supposed to be.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. How you've been writing for how many years now?
Ooh, what is this? 2024. 20. It's going on 23 years.
So a little bit longer than me. I started in 2004, and so if this is my 20th year. So how have you seen writing change over the years? And then how has your writing evolved?
Well, writing has changed over the years because I think that people are not really respecting the craft anymore. Because you remember, like back then, 20 years ago, like you had to be good. You couldn't just be mediocre with a cute cover and a catchy title. You had to be good. You had to really be able to write to keep people engaged. And it's not like that anymore. So there are good writers out there, but you got to read through so much of the other read through so much of the other stuff to find the good writers. So, and I think the evolution is changing that way. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because everything is going to change. Just like music, just like movies, like we used to go to the theater and pay the money, and now we don't stream everything. So everything is going to change. But I think that the respect for the craft is waning. People don't feel like they have to be students of the game anymore. And you have to first be a student of something before you can master it. So, and I think that my writing has changed as I'm getting older, as my lifestyle is changing. I'm not, like, for example, like when I first came out, I was wild. I was fresh off the street. So it reflected in my writing as well as in my behavior. So now that, you get older and you have kids and you get married and you start to evolve, and it shows in your writing, the evolution of your craft. Like I could still get gritty with the best of them, but my style is evolving. And I think it is still evolving. I don't know where it's taking me or what it's going to finally morph into, but I'm excited to see.
It's interesting that you say that. I remember reading something that Eric Jerome Dickey had written one time. And he said at that time, I believe he had maybe like 31 books at the time. And he said, I've written 31 books, and every book is a little different. And every book is a little bit better than the last book. Because as great a writer as he was, God rest his soul, he was also constantly learning. He was constantly reading books on writing and taking classes. And I agree with you. I think that because of, and don't get me wrong, we were talking about technology in the last interview. I love technology and I incorporate technology into everything that I do. But because it has gotten so much easier to get published, often the same care and the same investment doesn't go into editing or at least learning the craft. They just feel like, oh, I have a story to tell and I'm going to write that story. And then there's the belief that you don't have to pay for anything.
Exactly.
Everything should be free because, we're authors.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it kind of affected the craft a bit.
It did. It affected the craft a lot because now you can upload your Word file with a stock photo to Amazon and boom, you're a bestseller for an hour. You understand what I'm saying? And then it's like you also like, and I look at authors sometimes, and this is not a knock on anybody. When people ask me, how many books have you written? I'm like, I have like 40 something books, right? And I see authors that have been published for 2 years, like, I'm on my 60th book. And I be scratching my head. Yeah, and I'm like scratching my head, like, I write pretty fast. How the hell are you on 60 books and you've been published 3 years? Because they're not books.
Right.
They're novellas and they're calling them books. I don't think they know the difference. And you can't tell them because then you hate old ass hater, but it's a novella. So like if I was to say like break my books up, because what they do is like they'll take one book and break it up into 3 parts and give you one part every 90 days. I said, well, if I was to break my books up, my books are on average 400 pages. So if I break my books up, I'd be on my 800th book.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But I'm giving you novels. So
right. And there is a difference. And I tell people there's nothing wrong with novellas. And hopefully you're not misunderstanding what Quan is saying. But there are novellas and there are novels. And there is a specific word count that goes with each type of book that you write.
That's true. Like if you look at, let's say, my Black Lotus series, right? Those are novellas. So people are like, oh, come on, these books are thin. You wasn't paying attention to the fact that it says a novella. So you have a novella is like what? Let's say 40,000 words, right? Whereas a novel is anywhere from 65 to 100,000 words. And these things that these guys are doing, and again, it's no knock on nobody. You do what you do. You can't take 30,000 words and tell me this is a novel because it's just not true. And I'm not telling you that it's not true because I'm trying to bust your bubble or hearing what you're doing. But it's a scientific fact. And does that make sense? A scientific fact? No. But it's a fact. Like it's a literary fact that 30,000 words does not a novel make.
Absolutely. That's a novella.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now we're talking about book lengths. Your books are pretty thick. And I think we're in a day and age right now where a lot of people are looking for shorter books because their attention spans long as they used to be. They don't have a lot of time anymore. But you still have stuck with the longer books, and it still worked for you.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's not by design. It's just is what it is because I'm a writer who I like to do like a slow build. I like to introduce you to characters, to give you their backstories, to give you a reason to either root for them or hate them. And sometimes I can be a little bit worried because I'm just not like, I have to expound on whatever it is that I'm saying in the most articulate and most colorful way possible. And sometimes I may take a whole page to describe a woman, because I felt like that's what it took. So, and I try not to be constant, but people like, I like Kuwan's books, but they take so long to get to it or they're so worried. That's the only way I know how to write. Even with the Black Lotus stuff, like I have to, in the back of my mind, and I hate being conscious of a word count.
Yeah.
But I know I don't want to go over this because it's not supposed to be there.
So, one thing I can say about your books, I'm currently reading Passion for the High. And you have a lot of characters in that story. You introduce a lot of characters. Some of them may only be there for the chapter. Some may be there for the scene. And then there are some who last throughout the entire book. But the thing about it is the way you've written the character, you've given the reader a reason to care about each character that you introduce to the story. So what is your process when it comes to character development?
Well, I feel like no matter how big or small, if I give you a name, I have to give you a story. You could just be like, let's say Little Johnny, like the main character Payne crossed paths with Little Johnny going into the store. If I gave Little Johnny a name, I have to give Little Johnny a story to say, well, he knew Johnny from X, Y, and Z. Johnny's mother had been yada, yada, so on and so forth. You may see him again in the book, or you may not see him again in the book. But then there's also on the flip side, I like to do what's called breadcrumbs. Like I may mention a character in a book, right? And you think this character is totally irrelevant or not important to the story. And he may not be important to that particular story, but he's important to another story. For example, in my Reluctant King series, there's the character Payne. I mentioned him. He's not the main character. He's a character in passing. He's a friend of the main character. And so you're like, okay, well, this Payne character is not really significant. Then boom, his passion for the heist, which is centered around Payne. And they're like, oh, that's the guy from the other book that he was going to the store with. So it's like that. And then if you go back further to the Hood Rat series, he is the son of a character because I like to sometimes I recycle names. People like, I've seen this name Payne before. So if you go back to like, I think it was like Hood Rat and Still Hood, there was a character named Payne. And this is the son of that character Payne who died a violent death. So, and it talks about how, but you don't know it at first. You don't know, you meet him twice in the Reluctant King and False Idols, but you don't know that he's the son of this character until you get to Passion for the Heist. So then you go back to the Hood Rat books like, oh, this makes so much sense now.
That makes a lot of sense, and it really, in a way, it's almost
I
like
love my outfit.
advertising.
I know I'm just outside. I love my outfit.
Oh yeah, I'm introducing her later. But in a way, it's almost advertising the book, because what happens is I'm reading Passion for the Height, so you've made me care about pain, and now you've mentioned that pain is mentioned in a couple other books. That may make me want to go read those books to see how he fits in with those characters. Next thing you know, you're reading 5 books from the same author.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's never done intentionally. Like they call it the Kawanaverse. It's like the Marvel universe where these characters and these stories overlap. And I swear to God, I do not do this intentionally. It's the way my brain is wired. Even with the second installment of Passion for the Heights, there's a character in the first one, Little Sorrow. And you meet Little Sorrow in this book, and you like Little Sorrow well enough, but you don't you won't really get to understand his significance in this storyline until the second book. And even when it's revealed, it's gonna make you go even further back in my catalog. Like, wait a minute, did he just say, "Oh, these two characters are connected 10 years apart," though?
How do you build a character to make the author, or make the reader care about the character, kind of cheer them on? Because one thing I've noticed is that when a character is well developed, even if they're evil, you care about them. And then, like for instance, with Denzel Washington's character in Training Day.
I love that character.
Yes, you hate the guy. He's the evil guy. But
Lonzo.
I didn't want the guy. I didn't want him to get caught.
Yeah, I said, oh, they're gonna do Lonzo dirty. But you know,
that's the way you make the reader, or in this case the viewer, care about the character. So how do you build your character so the reader can identify them and actually care about them?
Because I take the qualities of everyday people to create these characters. And once I develop an emotional attachment to the character, I hope that the readers will, like with Animal. And Animal is my biggest character. Anybody will tell you that. But he wasn't supposed to be. He was never supposed to be. Animal was a sub-character who was supposed to die in that first book. Not the first Animal book, Section 8. Section 8. He was supposed to die. But I began to develop, I got an emotional attachment to him. And as my emotional attachment grew, so did the emotional attachment of the readers, until his character got so big that I had to take him from the Hood Rat series and give him his own situation, because he was cannibalizing everything around him. So, and I was like, and even when I did the last book, and people hate me for that last book, they worried me so bad. They pestered me for, I think it was 6 years. And what I made y'all wait 6 years, I think, before I gave y'all the 5th book, because people would just ask me, when are you going to do Animal 5? When are you going to do Animal 5? And I said, I got something for y'all asses. So when I did Animal 5, all I'm going to say is chapter 9. If y'all read Animal 5, chapter 9. So I said, I'm going to hit y'all in your head. And chapter 9 was like, are you paying attention? Are y'all paying attention? So, you know, and it's like, but I had to do it on my own terms. I had to go back to Animal when I was ready, because I seen so many authors crash out because they try to appease the readers. And I had to start telling readers, and I said, man, F y'all. I'm going to do it when respectfully, but I'm going to do it when I'm ready to do it. You don't run me. You're not the boss of me. I'm going to write this book when I feel like it. And every time you ask me about this book, I'm going to make it. Every time you ask me about the book, I'm going to make you wait another 6 months. Every time you ask me, I'm going to start that clock over. And people ask me every day, when is Animal 5 coming? And I would start that clock over. So, but when I was finally able to, but when I was ready to come back to it, and I think Animal 5 was probably one of the best ones in the series, because emotionally I was prepared. But when I was done with it, right, I felt sad. I felt broken. I felt alone, because Animal had been my best friend for so many years.
Right.
And I was like, what else gonna do now? What else gonna do now? And so, in truth, that character still occupies space in my head every day, because, and people don't know, I had 3 more books with content for Animal in them.
Right.
I just never did anything with. And it's not like and these people are like, when are you gonna do Animal 6? I'm not. Allegedly. I mean, you never know, but like I said, like, it's like somebody like your best friend, like it's like your best friend goes away to college and y'all don't see each other as much. You miss that friend. You miss that friend. So it's like whenever they come home from, like my man right there, because you know my man, we grew up together. He was at my 10th birthday party. He got me in trouble because he kicked the little girl, and the little girl spilled. She spilled ice cream. I had on this white sweatsuit, and then I thought I was eating. I had the white sweatsuit, and he spilled ice cream, and he kicked the little girl, and he got me in trouble. Like your little unruly ass friends, and he kicked it. We're little kids. He's 10 years old, like. So and it feels good. Like when I come back and I come to Houston, and I link up with my dude, and we moving and shaking. So it's like that. So it's the same thing with Animal, and like I find myself, I'll sit at the computer. And I'll start writing about Animal.
Okay.
And then I'll immediately delete it.
Oh.
I'll get deep into it.
And then delete it?
And delete it.
I mean, not just close the file.
No, delete it. Delete it because I'm like, am I ready to be dragged back down that rabbit hole when I have so many other characters? Like, I promised the readers when I did Animal File, I said, after this, I'm going to give you somebody who you love, like Animal, and I gave you Pain. So people that have read Passion for the Hike, they're like, oh my God, it's Pain, the Blackbird. But he's been hiding in plain sight for years. For years. It's the same thing with Lil Monk in The Fix. He was hiding in plain sight for years.
Yeah.
But people had to get over that love hangover they had with Animal to say, oh, well, he's good too. And I like this character too. And this character, even with like the Black Godfather, the Grimm family, Antoine Grimm. I don't know if they'll feel him on the same level of pain because I didn't have the same emotion. I mean, I love all my characters, but certain ones I bond with on a spiritual and emotional level like Pain. And I think that you can tell when you're reading the story, there's certain aspects of his life, even like the scene when he's at his grandmother's house. Yeah. And I'm not going to blow it up for people that haven't read it. And he finds the plaque. It's a platinum plaque from his dad's album in the back of it. And that's when you get to understand and break down who his father was. And if you read the Hood Rat series, you're going to be like, Bad Blood, Pain. Let me go back. Oh, I didn't even peep how he did that. So, but it's the emotional because, and that's how it was like when my dad passed. And I got to know him in a different way from going through certain things that were personal to him because I didn't have a relationship with him in life like that. But when he passed, there was certain things that I'm like, oh damn, like, you know, this is who he was. This may be a side of him that I did not know.
Right. So do your characters speak to you?
Oh hell yeah! They don't shut up. That's all they do is chat. And that's actually how I decide who I'm gonna write about. The character who speaks the loudest. It's 100 people in my head all trying to talk at the same time. Whoever speaks the loudest is who's next up.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So we've referenced Pain quite a few times. So let's talk about Passion for the Hike. As I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of characters in this story, but the ones who stand out, there are a lot of them who stand out, but the story kind of centers between pain and passion, and it's almost like you're telling two different stories.
Yeah.
And then they collide.
And they meet in the middle, but what people don't even peep, I'm singing Nina Simone to you. The story was based on the Nina Simone song Blackbird.
Yeah.
Pain said, Blackbird, that's why they called him Blackbird. It was like they call you Little Sorrow. He has his friend Little Sorrow. Your mother's name was Lonely. His mother's name is Lonely. So it's the story of the Blackbird. This was my interpretation of this little boy that Nina Simone was singing about in the song. And I felt like when I heard this song, it was so beautiful. I had to put it into words.
That makes a lot of sense. And, you know, I didn't think about it as I was reading it. But as you're explaining it, it all just kind of falls into place. It all makes sense. Have you ever kind of sung a song to somebody through your books before?
All the time. It's like Gangsta. That was the song of my grief. I wrote Gangsta when my mother was on her deathbed. So that was my grief. By the time I got to like Street Dreams, that was like I think I was a dad for the first time by then. So that was another aspect. I wasn't as sad anymore. I had something to love now, other than myself, and that's why Rio and Trinity's relationship was like that. So it's like different. Like all of my books, I'm telling you something. I'm giving you something. I'm giving you a piece. And even if I'm not coming out and saying, "Hey, this is a reflection of this," even with like let's say Road Dogs, Road Dogs is a violent, but Road Dogs and Gutter, those books are two very violent because I was at points in my life where I was just angry. So I'm like, I'm angry, I'm hurting. See me, know that I'm hurting. Look at me, I hurt. And it's just like, oh, these are good stories, but I'm giving you my pain. I'm giving you my grief in these stories. But people don't give a shit if you hurting. They just want you to write good
They want
material.
to be entertained.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's probably true of all types of entertainers. I mean, you hear about many of the musicians who didn't write their best songs unless they were in pain.
That's true.
And so
Like
they
Mary J.
didn't.
Blige.
Yeah, they didn't. So they didn't get the material. But I think I've even heard somebody say about Mary J. Blige.
Yeah.
She needs to get hurt again because her music was a lot better.
Exactly. Like when Mary was on them drugs and Casey kept his foot in her ass. Now, I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying that. But that pain music was what we remember Mary for. But on the flip side of that, why should she have to suffer for us to enjoy good music?
Exactly.
But the sad fact is that grief, like when I'm in a dark place and I'm spiraling and I'm drinking a lot, I give you those animal stories. I give you the stories like Animal 2, like Animal 5. I give you stories like The Fix 3, you know, and that's when you can tell when you see those stories that maybe just a little thicker than the rest of the books, you know that I was going through something when I wrote it.
Now, we talked about Passion for the Heights. For those who may not have read the book, what is the story about?
Passion for the Heights is my love letter to the streets almost. Passion for the Heights follows Passion and Pain. Like you said, it's the story of two different people. Pain is this guy, he's just fresh home from prison. He wants to fly straight. He wants to be better for his grandmother. But he keeps running into these obstacles, these things, you know, like he's trying to get his little job, but to stay clear of parole, and the guy is messing with his money at the job and this little stuff. And the whole time his homeboys is like, yo, you the Blackbird. You are one of the greatest thieves in the history of the hood. What are you doing? So, and it's that inner struggle with him trying to fly straight. Then on the flip side of that, you have Passion. Passion is a girl who is dealing with a lot of emotional issues that she keeps to herself. And you know, and she deals with them in different ways, like putting herself in bad situations, drinking, hurting herself, inviting other people to hurt her, you know?
Right.
And what I was doing with Passion especially is because there are so many young women who are going through things, but they are suffering in silence. Like that was Passion's thing, like you never knew that she had all this on her.
I thought it was interesting when she was called a siren. That was a really interesting scene.
Right, the sirens, and then she told like you lure people to the, and that's really what she does. She lures people. Like if you notice all through that book, and it'll be shown more in the second book, she is responsible for so many tragedies, not intentionally. That's just who she is. That's her toxic trait. You know, she is a siren, and that's why a lot of people didn't catch it. Like because they don't know. Like I'm not getting that's how I looked at like a siren, like. Because I had a girlfriend like that back in the days. Like, this girl had me crashing out. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I don't think that she was a bad person. I don't even think that she was conscious of the fact that she was causing this. It's just who she was. Right. But then after we became friends later in life, I got to know her backstory and the things that she was going through in her home life and why she was the way she was. So it's like I said, you know, a lot of young women, they suffer in silence. And I want that to stop. I want it to be okay for you to not be okay as a woman, whether you black, white, or green. So this is not just about black women, but I want you to stop suffering in silence because when you suffer in silence, then you end up doing wild stuff like Passion. How you see how it, and I'm not gonna book because I know you're still in the book, but things start to really spiral beyond her control, and it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, she's a very complicated character because there were times I had to remind myself that she was only 17.
Right, you have to tell yourself like she's a child because the thing she was doing, you'd be like, oh, I could put my hands on, but she's a child, and people forget that because they made she's this beautiful girl, overly sexualized because she lives in the house with her pimping uncle and so on and so forth. But you have to remember she's a baby.
Right.
She's a baby, and then I don't know if you got to how far in the book are you? Before I make this next statement.
I'm at the part where the casino party is being robbed.
Okay, so I can't. Let me tell you something. There's gonna come a point. All I'm gonna say is Birdie.
Okay.
So there's gonna come a point in the book And you're gonna look at me different. You're gonna look at me different when you get to this point in the book. Well, this conversation we're having right now is gonna hit home for you so crazy.
Okay.
Like, wow, that's what he meant.
I'm gonna be looking for it. I'm trying to have the book done before I get on the plane tomorrow. So I think I'm not gonna be ready for it.
I'm trying to tell her. I'm trying to tell her. But that's what I do. I leave you with scars. And I think that's a trait of a great author, someone who can leave you with scars.
What does it mean to you that you've been in the game for so long and you still have such a loyal following? I mean, I'm looking in the audience right now. There are people cheering you on as we're doing this interview.
Yeah.
There have been people.
Jinx on her.
There have been people who have been sitting here. I said we were going to start a few minutes late. They didn't move. They sat right here.
And I appreciate them for that because they know I'll be late to my own funeral. So people that have been like following me for years, I'm even late to my own live discussions. and I'm lying. I wouldn't be late to my own funeral. I'm just not going to show up. I'm just not going to show up.
Love it. So, does anybody have any questions for Paul?
Yeah, y'all got questions? I got answers.
Yes, ma'am. Come on over. Wait. Come over here. Everybody has to hear the question.
Before you ask the question, 1 second.
Hi.
Birthday,
Oh, yeah. I stayed all the way over here.
Oh, okay. Oh, child. Okay.
Oh, shit.
Hold
Like
the
I know where that's at.
Hold the microphone up here.
What about him? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You didn't read Gutter? Who are you looking for? You talking with Kenyatta? Yeah. He was.
Everybody wants to know what's going on, so can you repeat the question?
So she was asking me about Lulo and Gutter. So wait, no, don't go nowhere. So which are you talking about? Lil Gun? Are you talking about? Oh, you talking about? Oh, Dollar and Baby Loke. Oh. Yeah, that's Dollar. That's the girl. The mother is telling the daughter the story. That in the beginning, she's telling the daughter the story of her father.
Okay.
So, and it was funny because people wanted a third book so bad, and I started it. I started writing it, and I posted in my reader group. I posted the beginning of it, and I just never went back to it because I feel like that legacy, I could do it more harm than good, and I still want to like because Baby Loke, that's my dude. Like I used to climb in the girl window, and how their kids had the same relationship as the parents. But I think that, and I may, with me, you never know. I may one day get back to it, but like I'm just so afraid of damaging my legacy by overdoing it. Like how let's take Wahida for example. And I love Wahida, but y'all kept asking her for these books and kept having to, and then then they dogged her behind closed doors behind. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's fair to people to do writers like that. So I kind of like, and I just use her as an example. You know what I'm saying? Like, but this happens with a lot of authors. And I just like sometimes I just know when to take my foot off the gas and coast a little bit. So
that's what made me. I had signed up for audiobooks. I had that one free print. And goddamn edition. And I was up there. Okay. But Don B.
What about him?
Wait, we might have to continue this conversation after.
She asked me about Don B.
Yeah. Does anybody else have questions? Yes, ma'am. Come on over.
Girl, you gotta cut it out.
Hold the microphone up here, ma'am.
Hey, Iona. Am I saying it right, Iona? Did I say it right? The spirit, thank you.
I told her to hold it up. She don't want to do it.
Oh, did you read it already? Black God.
Even though he was trying to be up there, we don't want to know basically. Why is it that him where he was just trying to go down, further than what he was supposed to be? Because he was trying to follow in his doctor's grandfather's shoes.
Right.
In the military. Why is it that he ended up trying to be that? Trying to be close to him?
Oh, he wasn't a pimp. No, you tripping, Black.
Like,
you sure you read Black Godfather? See, that's why you made an assumption based on what you started reading. You didn't. You got to get through the whole story. You know, with me, it's nothing is ever surfaced. So that's why I'm like, you talking about Lil Antoine? No, we can't be talking about the same person. No. So you have to get deeper into the book. And like, how far are you in the book? Are you? Girl, you ain't even. Girl, go on somewhere. Girl. Yeah. But when you start to read it, you will understand, because you still don't even really know why he went to the army, do you? Right. Right. When you read it, you're gonna say, "Oh, this motherfucker's a genius." because again, on the surface, you see how you just jumped up here, and on the surface, you thought it was one thing. Not even close. You're not even close, baby.
Okay. Are there, yes, ma'am. Come on up. And then, sir, you'll be right after her. Come on.
Hey, cousin.
Hold the microphone right here.
And Raph? Oh, little JJ, Jonas Jr.? No. Castro was Animal's big homie. Castro was remember Castro gave, and you of all people should know this. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Oh, for shame,
no,
for shame.
The crazy girl is just another character. No, you don't remember what happened to Castro? You saw what happened to her. Yeah, she did. Now, if you listen, no, she's talking about, and I can't even, Jules. She's talking about Jules from Rap. Yeah, Jules. Now, you remember I started the book, when the book opens up, somebody is trying to kill Jonas. And then you find out that it was Jules trying to kill him. And you don't remember that she got her wig slit? Oh my.
Okay, I'm going, sir. You need to have a book club discussion in the back of the room.
Yeah. Okay, you got another question?
Okay. Up here.
Who else could they be going to meet in California? Think about a lawyer. Think about it. A lawyer in California. Who's a lawyer in California? Think hard. Keith is from New Orleans, but he lives in Atlanta. Who's the least? And I'm shocked that y'all people don't know.
I'm going to be real disappointed with you Quan fans.
Me too. And I can't just outright tell you because that'll ruin the surprise. And when you find out who they're going to meet, Because you see, everybody is migrating west for a reason. And I can,
Okay.
She told me to come up and
Come on, sir.
Valencia, why you line her up like that? What's up, bro? How you, man? I don't know. A lot of times,
That was a good question. What he asked is, do you create the characters first or the storyline?
it all depends. Like, with certain books, like, and I never create the entire storyline because I don't never know what I'm gonna write about from one page to the next. So I find out what's gonna happen in chapter 5 when y'all find out. So like sometimes like I said, with the Nina Simone, she inspired the character. So I started with the character and that. And then you have with Street Dreams, I started with the storyline because I knew kind of where I wanted to go. It was actually born from a phrase, but the storyline I knew where I wanted to go. So it all depends. It flip flop according to my mood.
All right. Are there any other questions? Okay, I think we got all the questions. Juan,
Yes.
this has been a very animated discussion.
I know, right? I love the way you put that. This has been an animated discussion. Yeah. Yeah.
No, seriously though, I really love looking at all of the support and love that you get for your stories. As an author, this is what a lot of us dream of. Sometimes it's not so much about how much money we're going to make, but how many people we're going to impact. And you've made a real impact with your story.
Yes. And you know what? And that's why, like, I see authors, and I don't knock whatever authors call the readers. Some they call them readers, some call them fans. I call my readers my cousins because I feel like we're fans. That's why you see me. I'm like, hey, cousin, because it's like we're one big family, and they've been with me for so long. They've been like a lot. You got to think about it. A lot of these readers started reading me when they were too young to be reading, and now they're adults and they have children now and stuff. So we've grown together like a village.
Absolutely.
So they're definitely my family.
Well, congratulations on. Do you see yourself stopping anytime soon?
I would not give them the satisfaction. You see, I think I took a hiatus. What was that? In I think there was 1 year, right? And this was so unusual to me. And I didn't put out any books. And I didn't even realize that I didn't put a book out that year. And people were like, "Oh my goodness, the lane is finally open. Kawan is slowed down. He's not writing more." And then I jumped on their head and started hitting them with books back. And that's something I never do. I put out 4 books this year, all 90 days apart. And I was just boom, 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 like a prize fighter. Like when you think you got him on the ropes and then he just start tearing you up, and you can't even understand. Ooh, let's shut up. I know them colors are fascinating. What up, Shouty? It was the colors because I wanted to walk him on the speaker and touch the colors too. So yeah, so it's like I'm not stopping no time soon. I feel like I would be doing myself, my mother, and my readers a disservice. When it's time for me to stop, the stories will let me know it's time for me to stop. I'm not an author. Y'all are gonna have to put out the passion and tell me, okay, come on, enough. And like I said, I've been doing this almost a quarter century, and I still feel like I have so much left to say.
Amen. Well, Quan, thank you. I don't know. I know we mentioned the Godfather series, but we didn't really.
False Idols. We didn't talk about false idols.
Wait.
False Idols. Became. Did we? Do y'all know the story of the Black Godfather? Do y'all know what the Black Godfather is about? Well, basically, the story is about this young boy. He's a child prodigy. His name is Antoine Grimm. He graduated high school at the age of 16. He had the whole world like literally at his fingertips. So something happens that I don't want to ruin for people that haven't read it. And he runs off, he steals his older brother's ID and he joins the Marines. So under his brother's name. Now mind, he's only 16 years old. So while he was there, he became a part of a special black ops unit, like don't ask, don't tell, we can send you where we send you, and became a POW, was a prisoner of war. Now this is a 16-year-old boy, and I think he spent 5 years in a POW camp. So he goes from a 16-year-old boy to this killer who people were calling the Black Death. They called him the Black Death because he had killed so many people. He's a black guy. He's like in South America. He's a black guy. They call him the Black Death. He's just a black killer. He's like the Grim Reaper. So when he comes home, he's trying to readjust to life. Like his whole childhood was so Shorty is active.
Yeah.
He is active. So he comes home and he's trying to reacclimate to life, but he comes home to a different neighborhood than the one that he remembers. People that he used to look up to on drugs, the pimps and the pushes have taken over, and he does not like it. And I always tell people, like, what inspired that was like when we used to be outside and doing wrong, right? And we saw an elder, we would put some shade on whatever it was that we were doing.
Right.
These kids now, they'll make a sale in front of you. They cuss in
Yeah,
front
they
of you.
used to put their beer behind their back when all
Right.
the people walk past.
Right. Now it's like, what's up, sis? You want a sip?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, and he sees it and he's not used to it. And so it starts out with him beating one person up for disrespecting a girl who was a childhood friend. And it snowballs into something else. And he's not trying to be anybody's savior. He's just trying to adjust. Like I said, he lost his whole childhood.
Yes.
He's trying to adjust, but people are now looking at him like the only person in the neighborhood that still cares about the neighborhood. And so it's like Dope Fiend was like, man, they calling you the Black Godfather. You know, so that's where the moniker. And I wanted the cover to remind you of a black exploitation movie because that's where I'm aiming with the storyline.
Got you. Well, guess I have a whole nother series I need to get into. I'm gonna need to be like y'all, you know, fussing at you next time.
Listen, when you get through a passion for the heist, you're gonna be looking for me in the daytime with a flashlight. I'm telling you. Like they know, like people that have read it already, they're looking like, oh girl, you ain't ready. You're not ready.
I see the faces over here. So all right, but I want to thank you for this interview. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I think this is the first time we've actually really been able to converse.
Yeah.
We've been in alternate or in similar universes.
Yeah.
We've been in the same place at the same time, but this is the first time we really had a chance to talk, and I appreciate it.
And it was a great chat too. It was a great talk. I enjoyed talking to you.
Same here. Same here. We have to do this again sometime.
Yes, we do.
Yes. All right. So if anybody would like copies of Quan's books, go to the front of the room where the Black Office Matter t-shirts are. You can purchase your book there. Quan will be up there signing books. So make sure you get a copy and an autograph, take a photo.
Yes. Do all that.
And support. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Let me not be ghetto. I'm gonna get rid of these.